Bitcoin is at a massive resistance line. If we break this resistance, we can actually see a new all-time high on Bitcoin. However, actually making or creating a fake out and not hitting or not breaking this resistance could actually lead to a major short trade on Bitcoin. So watch this video till the end, because I'm also gonna talk about Ethereum and how Ethereum has a nice long trade, I think, that could play out in a couple of hours. So let's get right into the TA, guys. As you can see, we've been talking about Bitcoin, how Bitcoin has been slowly and gradually pumping and increasing from $107,000 from the area where we said Bitcoin is very likely to bounce off. As you can see, this area of 107, 108, and also 109. We spoke about this green area of support along with the anchored view up. We can clearly see how we actually bounced for the second time off of the anchored view up. As you can see, I'm very happy about this idea and about this trade that I got into at $107,000. And I also find it very funny how people are actually were shorting Bitcoin and at $107,000, $108,000, when Bitcoin has for the second time in I think 3 months bounced from the anchored view up. As you can see, we clearly spoke about how this anchored view up that it was taken from the uptrend that was started on April the 8th, I think. As you can see on Bitcoin, we started on the 8th of April. We created an uptrend, and then we had the best long trade on Bitcoin once we fake out $100,000, and we also did the same thing right now on Bitcoin. This was actually the best buying opportunity. I've always been saying, guys, that if price had dropped and you are too late to be selling Bitcoin, there's no reason to be looking into shorts and selling off your Bitcoin and any coin to that matter, to be honest, once the price has finally fallen down. The idea is you should always be looking to find the best support based on your technical analysis, based on the volume, based on the anchored view up and liquidity, to look for a long that could actually make up those losses and actually get you profitable on Bitcoin. So let's right now, instead of talking about the support and how amazing that support was, let's talk about the current resistance line on Bitcoin, because right now we are at the massive critical zone on Bitcoin. I think the 4-hourly time frame could actually be the best. As you can see, we are clearly at resistance. As I've said, that we had the anchored view up that supported us and supported the bounce from $107,000, but we also have another anchored view up. If I make it more visible, we had an anchored view up, or we still have an anchored view up taken from the all-time high at around $124,000. We can clearly see how this downtrend is still intact. We haven't even we weren't successful in breaking it multiple times. So right now we are actually testing that area. We can clearly see that how important this area of resistance line, if I make it into a zone, as you can see, we can clearly see that this is clearly a major resistance line. We got also multiple ideas for a confluence. We got the anchored view up from the downtrend, which shows you that we need to break this blue line before calling the downtrend made from the all-time high to be broken. We also have the volume profile pull that I've showed you guys previously, that is taken from breaking $110,000, I think, on the 10th of July till the current price action. We can clearly see that we have the value area low, which sits also at confluence with the anchored view up, very close to the anchored view up at around $112,800. So we got a nice idea of multiple reasons to be either looking to short Bitcoin once we fake out this resistance. As you can see, I'm gonna explain very clearly how I might short Bitcoin if it fakes out these resistances, and we also might be thinking of actually being bullish and holding onto our longs if we break this resistance line. So firstly, let me break down the idea of shorting Bitcoin if we go above $113,700. Basically, the idea is actually if we remove all the TA, we can clearly see how we got nice candle wicks showing us that we've got nice liquidity sitting at around $113,700, as you can see here. We also got the anchored view up, as I've said, and the value area low. So the idea behind this trade, the short or possible short trade, is actually going above, hitting $114,000 or $113,700, and then if we lose this line, if we go back down under the resistance, we can clearly call this as a fake out, a fake move into the resistance, making people get into long trades, being faked out and stopped out at the top, and then us getting into a nice short trade. So this is the idea of a short I've got on Bitcoin at the most critical and final stages of this bearish move, as you can see, because as I've said, this is an important line. If we don't get a bad fake out reaction, we can clearly actually see the opposite of actually holding on into our lungs, because if we hold 114, 113.7, we can expect actually Bitcoin to pump from the value area low up to the value area high at around $120,000. This has happened before. We can clearly see how Bitcoin, once it has gotten back above the value area low, the previous or the current blue line, as you can see, we pumped up to make a new all-time high. So my expectation is, if we either short Bitcoin once we fake out the current resistance on the higher time frame, or hold onto my longs if we don't see a fake out, and instead actually will be very, very bullish, and I'll be calling personally for Bitcoin if we hold into $115,000. I'll be calling for a nice move, a nice pump, to be honest, up to $120,000. And now that I'm done talking about the low higher time frame on Bitcoin, let me share some nice long ideas on Bitcoin and also a nice long idea on Ethereum if we see a drop. As you guys know me, I never get into longs if price is pumping. If price is pumping, we basically do two things: either we hold into our longs and watch Bitcoin continue to pump, or we look for a short idea based on that rise. I'll never long Bitcoin if it doesn't drop even a tiny bit. So technically, if I'm gonna look into longs, I've had and I still have, I've held into my longs currently, but if I'm gonna look for new longs, I need Bitcoin to drop even further, because if we use the volume profile tool again and we take a pull from the 25th of August to the current price action, we can have the value, or we can see the value area low sitting at $110,000 basically. So the idea, or the current idea of a long, requires a heavy drop relatively, basically needing to break these lows, going under $110,000, and then if we see a reclaim of 110.1, then this is the only long trade that I'm interested in, because if Bitcoin loses 110 and never comes back above it, then basically I'm gonna be waiting for a new low to be made on Bitcoin. So yes, I'm technically bullish. I'm happy about the rise. I'm still expecting higher to come. However, if we see a fake out on the resistance line, I might be shorting Bitcoin. However, also on the job side, I might get into small long trades on Bitcoin over on Weeks, the best exchange right now without KYC. Also regarding Ethereum, I don't want to keep it too long, to be honest. I want to keep it short, sweet, and simple. Basically, on Ethereum, the only thing I'm interested in is a long, only if, and that's the major key fact, to be honest, only if Ethereum drops back under $4,200 on Ethereum. If we see this drop happen, we can also hit nice confluences of liquidity, value area low, and also taken out and hitting the NPOC. So technically, this is the only idea I'm interested in. If we happen to see a drop on Ethereum, then I might long Ethereum. If we don't see any drops on Ethereum, I'm happily gonna watch this price go even further for my other short trades ideas, or waiting for more price action to get into a better, newer long trade on the next upcoming days. Thanks for watching, guys.